welcome to the Daft Souls podcast. This is episode number 22, I think. And in a classic case of the ultimate form of nepotism, I've chosen to invite a guest who shares most of my genetic materials. My brother, Chris Lees.
I know your brother and your dad.
Oh, God. I can't deal with this kind of revelation. It's too early in the morning. And we're having cups of tea instead of beer. What a weird Daft Souls this is already.
Oh, boring. But video games.
Yeah, well, you've just been... obviously, I popped into the expo, the Eurogamer Expo.
That's the one.
I was there for about an hour, and I played two things. I played Alien Isolation. Is it called Alien Isolation?
Yeah, it is.
Good. And I played...
Because he's lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, why did they leave me on the ship with this boring little girl?
And everything's all retro and rubbish.
Yeah. Oh, man, they spent a long time making everything look as retro and rubbish. That's quite good. I might talk about that a little bit. And also, I played Heat Signature. Which is
played Heat Signature.
Still a bit early. You didn't get into it as much because I don't think anyone was telling you how to play it.
Told me how to get the man back in the ship after he's flown into space, which is probably the coolest thing in it.
It is the coolest thing in it. I mean, it's second game by Tom Francis, who, full disclosure, I know a little bit and is a nice man. But he made Gunpoint, which was excellent. I thought Gunpoint was
so
brilliant.
Told, yeah. I thought it looked rubbish, like bouncy Spider-Man. But
no, it's really, really, really smart. I've got
that on my list of things to play when I'm home.
Gunpoint is really cool. It's like Gunpoint is like a bit of a toy box. It just lets you play around with stuff, and it introduces new things you can do. And it's one of those games that really beautifully doesn't outstay its welcome. In the fact that you just have fun with everything, and none of the mechanics are given enough time to feel boring, and you just get new stuff to play with. And it's also the story's really cool in the fact that it's really basic, but it's just you're a sort of spy dude who gets given jobs, and you have a sort of towards the end you start to realize that actually like you're kind of playing two people off each other, and you've got two clients that are basically using you to do counterintelligence.
Okay, well, spoil this word. I'm going to play it later.
Yeah, it gets quite cool. But yeah, Heat Signature is basically, you may have seen it knocking about. It's like flying around in space, getting onto ships, doing things.
Giant, ridiculous scale.
But you can zoom in and out using the mouse wheel, and you've got a tiny little ship. Well, it's either tiny or big, depending on how zoomed you in. That's how perspective works. But it's tiny in the world because it's a little ship, and you have to fly and land onto other ships by avoiding their sensors. They have this sort of red, like...
Oh, is that what I just didn't go into it?
Yeah, basically, like they have these kind of signals so they can see you, and you have to land on their ship. And then when you're on the ship, it's a weird cross between Hotline Miami.
It feels like Hotline Miami, but no, it's
point and click. So it's weird. It's not quite like Hotline Miami because it's not like twin stick movement.
It's got the same thing. If you go around a corner at 90 degrees and you haven't seen the guy, then he's going to kill you.
Yes, it has that element.
Straight away, you have to be the first one around the corner.
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing. But it also has that thing that if you're careful, you can just fire a gun and just wait around the corner and just gun down six people if you're quick and lucky.
Find the right spot, you can just kill a whole crew.
It takes a bit of getting used to though, because it's not twin stick or directional movement to move around. It is point and click. It has that thing of like you click where you want to move.
It felt clunky. I thought it felt clunky in the ships. The camera because it had the exact same. In and out.
You can zoom in and out at will.
It felt like the camera angle should have changed when you go into the ship.
Bit of automatic camera adjusting. Yeah.
It's alpha.
No, I kind of agree with that, and I wouldn't be surprised actually if when the game does come out there is stuff like that in it. It is alpha. This thing is really early, but the core of what's there, the loop of the game, is really fun because it's basically what's there so far is you just fly, land on a ship, and then when you're on a ship you can go around and kill all the people who are patrolling all the guards, and then you can do what you want on it. And that means
you find missions on the ship, which send you somewhere else, So you
kind of log into data chairs on the ship, like sci-fi style, and then you'll find out where a target is or something, and then you can take over the ship as the captain, and then you can zoom out and actually fly that ship and fire its rockets.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
No, well, the thing is, it's kind of like at the moment it doesn't even have a tutorial really. Yeah. So I had to kind of work it out with the help of having Tom Francis stood next to me going, oh, you can do this. And Steve Hogarty, also for Dark Souls and other stuff I do, he just played it. So I just watched him playing it a bit and kind of got a gist of it. But it's really nice in the fact that I love the fact you could steal a really big ship full of rockets. And then I got a mission where I had to assassinate someone. And I assassinated them by just blowing up the ship with another big ship and then leaving.
I was sure when it came and spoke to you and Steve and said he'd been playing it, I thought, if they made another Adventure Time game, because they made Card Wars, which is an episode of Adventure Time where they play a card game.
Yeah.
I was like, Heat Signature is the name of a home movie that they make in Adventure Time. I was like, I've not made another Adventure Time game.
My heart can't take that Adventure Time game. But yeah, and as I say, like, you didn't work out. There's the whole thing of when you get caught on the ship, you get hit and you don't get killed. They just shoot you, and then you're on the floor, and then somebody just runs over to you. They detach your ship from the airlock, so your ship just floats off into space, and then they throw your man out the airlock, and then it's like you've got 30 seconds. You press tab to switch to your ship, and then it's like that classic sci-fi trope of you going through space as fast as you can, trying to catch the man and
too fast because you'll fly right past yourself.
So it's really satisfying doing that kind of like trying to get the trajectory and speed, and as you see the distance number getting closer and closer, you start to slow down a bit to try
and around, thrust slowly the other way.
But just the feeling of flying around space, actually, it's done by kind of clicking and head in front of your spaceship, and you go faster by zooming out. So when you zoom out, you can accelerate further, and then you can do more subtle steering if you zoom in. But just the feeling of swooping around through space and getting that sense of trajectory and
actually getting close, getting docking and avoiding the sensors and things, that when you're zoomed in on close scale, that works really well.
It's really satisfying. Yeah. And I really loved Towerfall Point. I was hurtling through space at an alarming rate, and I just crashed into a ship. But I managed to crash into the ship at the exact docking points, which went
so there isn't a speed issue for that.
I think that may be something that
it feels like it should be.
But it was just like suddenly it just stopped, and I was on a ship, and I'm like, oh cool, I'm on a ship. But yeah, it's really promising. In the same way that basically like Gunpoint was quite a simple game, but the actual kind of core of what you were doing on each level and the actual kind of basics of how the game worked was just so satisfying that all it really needed was little bits of variation, little bits of changing up the tone and the pace of the game, and you've got yourself a great game.
A tutorial, maybe.
Or
just some on-screen.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's the skeleton of a really good game is there, and it's just a case of him getting the rest of it there.
I'm looking forward to playing.
So what do you play though? Because you played some other stuff, right?
Well, I played something that I've actually been playing at home. I got really into Gang Beasts.
Yeah, it's like little plasticine men, Power Stone style.
I think the best way to describe it is it's a combination. If you smashed Smash Bros Melee with Octodad together, it's that. So it's a co-op, not co-op. It's local multiplayer only fighting game with sort of weird, funny physics. So it's as simple as get the other character off the level, or in the fire pit, or in one of the meat grinder things, or whatever.
Just squish them to death, basically.
Yeah, just there's a death zone area. Sometimes you're on top of a moving vehicle. It varies, and you've got just right arm, left arm, tap to punch, hold to grab, and if you hit them enough, you knock them out. And then you've got raise and lower your arms, and that's it. So you use the physics of if someone's knocked out, if you grab someone and then spin around and let go, you'll use the momentum to sort of throw them. Also, you can grab with one hand, punch with the other. But you can play 8-player.
That sounds like a tremendous amount of fun. To be honest, the only reason I haven't played it yet is just because of the fact that, I get the impression that you could play it with just two people, but it seems like it'd be way more fun with a bunch of people.
The more the merrier, and because I was at Eurogamer, it was 8 players at all times. So I stayed there for about an hour. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
You need, as soon as someone starts winning a fight, you get someone else, and because when you try and throw someone off, they might grab your arm or your leg, and so you're over the edge. They're dangling off you, so you can get chains of like 3 or 4 people all trying to, and you can climb as well. So you get really interesting combinations of people dangling and climbing up each other and hitting. It's so funny.
It's great. It literally sounds like a barrel of monkeys.
It's a couple mates around with a few beers. Dead simple, really fun, but also a competitive fighting game. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I kind of just think like with that, the only thing is just trying to get the people.
It's a less serious Nidhogg, really.
Yeah, and Nidhogg can be a bit po-faced, I think. I mean, I think it was Midnight Resistance sort of did a thing where, I think it was them anyway. They did an evening of stuff, and there was some Nidhogg, and there was some Sports Friends, and there was some...
Sports Friends?
Sports Friends is really fun. It's kind of like a little game where you basically just... It's basically like... I think there are multiple games in it. I might be wrong, but the one that I saw was... It was basically like volleyball in a way. You just had to kind of keep punching this ball into their
Like
side.
I think I've seen it. Isn't it like a combat game, but you fire a ball at each other?
Yes. So basically, you can smash the ball into people to knock them down, but then you need to basically get the ball into their water on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like each of the characters have slightly different things. Like some are faster, some are hit harder. So it's basically like a cross between beach volleyball and Smash Brothers. But it's really fun to watch and it's really fun to play. But it's kind of cool that there's been a resurgence recently of all of these kind of party games in a way.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was speedrunners as well. It was quite good. It was all right. It's just it reminded me of it was an old Sonic multiplayer where there's a loop and you have to race, and as soon as you get far enough away from the other person, they're off the screen. You win a point.
Yeah, well, that's micro missions as well.
I guess but it's a platformer and just round.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's good. It's that, and it's like run, jump, slides, grappling hook, and power ups. And that's kind of it. But it's competitive and it's simple, and it's nice that you can just pick up and play, and you don't have to say, "Oh, this is this, this is this." Anyone can play it straight away.
Yeah. I think that's another thing as well. Is just those games. I mean, actually, the Mount Your Friends is the classic for that.
Yeah,
and the Mount Your Friends tournament.
I've been playing a lot of that.
I think that was actually it. They were playing some Nidhogg and they were playing some sports friends, I think, at the Mount Your Friends tournament, which was...
I've gone to the extent of
so
putting
good.
all the faces on. I spent about an hour taking pictures from Facebook, putting all my friends in.
On the PC version, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
So when I show it for the people for the first time, it's already like, what is this? This is ridiculous. With the pendulum penises spinning around. But then it's also got their faces on, which is always a nice surprise.
Yeah, that is awesome. The Mount Your Friends is a classic. But it is great. There's this big collection. It means you can sort of actually feasibly put on actual like parties around party games rather than having to have games where it's like, how do you play this? What is this? Yes, I say Nidhogg is, I think, a bit... Nidhogg is good. Fun, but it's quite serious.
I'd enjoy playing it with you or with just anyone who's...
I'm not very good at it.
A similar...
I could be, though, that's the thing.
We played... What was the tower thing we played before?
Yeah, we've just been playing Towerfall, which is a bit of very much a case of late to the party on this, but I kept hearing that Towerfall was great, and obviously, my brother's been here this weekend, so we're like, let's play a game together. We played some Towerfall. The co-op campaign was kind of fun, but it's clearly...
The versus is brilliant.
It's versus game.
But you have to play someone who's around the same level you are.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, actually, because we were playing, like, dueling, and that was loads of fun. Actually, for the first couple of rounds, I was like, I wasn't sure, and then I realised it was awesome.
When we both started getting the hang of the counter dodging, and we get battles where we would come at each other about 5 or 6 times, and both be blocking, both be firing, block, fire. And
basically it has a system. For those of you who haven't played Towerfall, it's an archery game, basically, where it's a platformer, but it's a platformer in that kind of puzzle bobble style thing, or like where you can, if you fall at the bottom of the screen, then you appear at the top. If you go off the right, you go to the left.
Mario battle.
Yeah, all like that. Yeah, of course. But it means that you can quickly move around the map in all sorts of directions, but then you fire arrows, and you can fire arrows in 8 directions, but then arrows are also affected by gravity, which means if you fire an arrow far enough, it'll start to fall. If you fire an arrow straight up in the air, it will fall back down.
Stay still, it'll hit you on the head.
And kill you. So obviously when you then have the fact that arrows can be going from the left side of the screen coming out the right, or going from the bottom and coming out the top,
like arching over and down, it's difficult.
It's a bit mad, but also the fact that you have the ability, so it's just, the buttons are so simple, it's just moving around, jumping, but then you can also fire arrows, but you can also dodge, and the dodge is basically, it's like a directional classic action game dodge.
Just shift an inch to the right.
Yeah, you shift an inch to the right, but then or left or down or whatever. But if you do it into a projectile, then you catch it and add it to your ammo, and because you start off with like 3 arrows each, it means that the cool thing about that is sometimes we had matches when it was just both of us just ran at each other and just fired all of our arrows and tried to jump on each other's heads.
I had a game where I just let you fire all of your arrows and dodged until I had all the arrows.
And then you're in trouble.
Now I have all the arrows.
It's like if you've got all the arrows, it means all I can do is try and catch them again.
Or jump on your head. Which is what happens.
It's quite funny. I thought it was really funny in the fact that it's like there's a classic thing with archery, and the fact that the whole point with archery is that if you have the higher ground, you have the advantage. That's the whole basis of the whole basis of most kind of old school war, really.
Yeah.
But I liked in this that it's like archery more than anything, you want the high ground. But in this, it wasn't actually because you could fire arrows down on people more effectively. It was that jumping on people's heads was
especially
really
with firing down as well, firing down and jumping down.
It means they catch the arrow, but they can't catch you when you land
yes,
on their
you
head.
can. There was a point where you jumped down and I dodged up, and I'm sure it bounced off.
Oh, right, maybe.
It may have been that had a shield. I'm not too sure.
That's the thing is, we didn't play it for that long, but there's clearly like...
there's power-ups as well, we forgot to mention.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of power-ups, and it has that really pleasing menu when you can go into the multiplayer and you can tweak it, and there's just so many options of like, do you want loads of treasure? Do you want mad variables? And
it's the old like Bomberman thing. Like,
yeah,
you can have basic weapons, advanced weapons. You can have massive handicaps for rubbish players.
I do like the way it automatically handicaps a bit as well.
Yeah, it gives you. I think it gives the leader a crown.
Well, that doesn't do anything.
No, but it indicates that they're winning, and any other people start.
Apart from makes you feel awesome.
Well, exactly.
I am the king. But yeah, because of a couple of games, I was just storming ahead, and it gave you a bubble shield at the start.
Like one extra life, basically.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you a chance to catch up if you're getting absolutely stomped on. But yeah, it's really good. I really enjoy Towerfall. I'd love to play it with 4 people.
Yeah.
Again, it's like...
It's hard. It's like Nidhogg. It's 8-player local only. I mean, presumably it's going to go online at some point. Or
I don't know.
It's hard work getting 8 controllers around the
I thought there was an
PC.
online mode, but it's like...
Not in any version I've seen.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, it's sort of the sort of thing that makes me want to organise a big pub thing, like just with loads of these games, which is actually, you can already do that at the moment. Obviously, Midnight Resist do a really good job at that, organising kind of... but it'd be great to do that on a bigger scale, just have loads of... Because in about a year, there'll be like about 10 games or so that are all just games that you can learn in about a minute. What are the buttons? These.
Yeah.
Go. And I think especially with 4-player on Towerfall, it'd be amazing, because 2-player I think might be frustrating because it's the sort of game clearly you can get really good at it. And if you're dueling, then it's really good if you're on a par with somebody. But with 4 players, there'd be that element of madness that even if you were really good at it, you'd still probably be getting absolutely digged on by arrows coming from nowhere and
There's
stuff.
the complexity to it as well. Like, you get the power-up arrows will show the arrows, how many arrows shows above your character's head, so you can see if someone's out of ammo or if they've got loads of ammo. But also if they've got special arrows, it'll show that they've got them.
And it shows the order.
The order as well. So you'll maybe prioritise trying to catch that arrow, or there's tactics you can use.
It's a really clever little game.
It's good.
One of the things I played really briefly, and it's the only time I played it, but I played Alien Isolation as part of a sort of live stream thing on one of the Eurogamer stages. Played it for about 5 minutes. It's really good. I mean, I think the thing is, I haven't really played it before this. A lot of people have been talking about it, but yeah, I'm kind of...
Did you get scared?
Yeah, I did. I mean, not massively.
When you got all the people watching though, like, it's like when you watch a horror film late at night with the lights and stuff, it's scary. If you've got doing a live stream, everyone watching you, then that's not scary.
No, I think
it's not the game, is it?
Yeah, you're kind of right. You're kind of right. I mean, that's the thing is, doing it on a stage in front of an audience, it was more...
They've got your back. They're there in case anything goes wrong.
It was more a case of me, A, trying to learn how to play the game because I've never played it before. B, trying to play it quite well, just because, I play games, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. You never go, well, I'm going to... Who cares if I'm terrible? It's like, obviously...
Find the alien. Find him.
Obviously, you have the thing of being like, I don't mind if I'm terrible, but you still try and do quite well. But it was a bit confusing as well because the stage audio was set up for the audience, so actually the left and right was reversed in terms of the audio channels.
Okay.
Because it was being played on a big stage, and that kind of threw me a bit. But yeah, I kind of did the stupid thing of just found the alien and blasted it with a flamethrower, and the alien runs off. But the idea is you can't kill the alien. You can just scare it off. But it's basically hide and seek in space with an alien. And I didn't get a great feel for it because I was playing it on a stage.
What I've heard that really intrigues me is I can sort of imagine this is something that they'll say about it, but then maybe it's not very true. The fact that the alien's supposed to learn from...
No, they were saying that actually, because the dev on stage was basically saying...
like if you go and hide in a room and it chases you and then doesn't find you and then chases you in there again, it'll look more thoroughly.
Yeah, I think that's apparently the case. I mean, the developer, when he was playing it, because Gav was basically asking him about it when he was on stage, and he said that you can throw a flare, and it'll go and look at the flare the first time. It'll spot it and it'll go and investigate it and it'll spend some time looking at it, want to know what it is. And then you throw a flare again, and it will look at it for a minute.
Where it comes from.
But then it will be like, oh, I'm not going to go and look at it closely because I know what that is. But then apparently if you keep using them, it will stop looking at the flare and it will start trying to work out where it's come from.
Okay.
And it will be like rather than looking at it, it'll just be like, that came from over there.
So, yeah, right, okay. So it's very specific things it learns about, like hiding places. And
I guess the advantage is that, most of the times with AI in games, they're trying to work out the complexity of AI is probably about the team. It's about like, how do you make a squad of soldiers behave like a squad of soldiers and not all automatically run to hide in the same piece of cover, which is always the problem,
Or run out of the same place where they hear the noise and into your line of fire one by one.
I can't believe it. I think there was a period under PlayStation 2 when they kept just releasing like a Medal of Honor game every year or every 6 months or something. It felt like they were just like, there was a new Medal of Honor game out as often as there was a milkman delivering milk. But they were all fucking shit. It got to the point where EA was just like, it doesn't matter, does it?
People will buy it.
People are buying these World War II shooters, so let's just keep making more of them. This was before Modern Warfare came and sort of changed the world. But at that point, I just remember reviewing one of them and it was like, fucking hell. Because you had this World War II shooter, it meant that you had this squad of soldiers going along with you. And it meant every section of the game you got to, there was never any choice about where you could go, because there was always like a bit of cover that you could use, and the rest of the cover would just be full of men. And there was one point where it was like, mate, I want to be here. And I kept like getting my bullets blocked because this guy kept popping up and like be in front of me, and it's just like, fuck off. Get out of my way. I am the hero. You go somewhere else. If I want to be here, you need to leave. But I guess with this, it's like, there aren't any other NPCs roaming around. Or there might be, but not many. I think there are human characters and people you meet.
Are there?
Yeah, apparently, because I saw I just saw this when it was loading. It said, survivors, like...
I thought it'd be like audio logs or something along those lines.
No, there's that stuff as well.
But it's sort of in the name, it's isolation.
I think there are other survivors, potentially, but maybe not that many. And it's sort of in tone that maybe it's sort of best to leave them alone in a way. Like, It might not be a good idea. It's sort of, I can't remember what it said, but there was a tooltip came up saying survivors, like, sometimes are best avoided.
Could have gone bonkers.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess sometimes
a bit mad.
You might not want to go near them because they're just a bit tweaked out. Especially with Alien, because it's like the classic Alien, The Thing style thing of like, if another human comes up and is like, hey, buddy, there's going to be a part of you that's going to be like, you get the hell away from me. Have you got an alien in you?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because that's
well, there's only one in the game, so I can't imagine there's going to be chest bursters.
I'd still be freaked out by it. If I'd seen the Alien film and I was in an Alien game,
yeah, I suppose,
I'd be like, I know what happens.
I think it's more along the lines that they might start screaming or slamming doors.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is that thing of if you survive for long enough on your own,
what's that over there?
Yeah, but it's the sort of thing I'm very much looking forward to playing with headphones and really getting into
definitely.
it.
I'm exactly the same as you in regards to horror games. I don't do it.
No,
I'm sure Amnesia is a fantastic game. I'll never know.
It's quite cool.
It's not for me.
Yeah, that's the same as I'm not good with horror games.
Silent Hill. I hear that's good.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. It's like, I completely accept that apparently it's a classic. Not going to play it. I don't like scary games.
I'll do that Alien.
But I'll do that because it's sci-fi and it's Alien, and I love Alien. But it was a bit of a shame because it was like on this live stage, it's like most of the people, half the people there were like Twitch streamers who were like, they were just trying to speedrun it because that's what they do, right? Like Twitch gamers. It's not, and it's just a bit embarrassing.
The game is about.
I know.
Paranoia, and is it around that corner? And what was that shadow? And
it's sort of a weird, like, I mean, the thing is they have a challenge mode in the game, and that's what we were playing, where it's like, how quickly can you get through this? And you get more points for doing it quickly and stuff. And it was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
That's something once you've completed it, want is something else to do.
I've got to be honest though, it was hilarious watching all of these sort of apparently famous Twitch streamers. Actually, some of them were lovely. There were kind of them that seemed like really nice guys who were really genuine and really like, oh, I messed that up, whatever. But there were a couple of them who were like right arrogant bellends who were just like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. Yeah, I'm the best at this, actually. When there were some people just kept being like, yeah, actually, we had this on the show floor at another event and all these guys were there as well, but I was the best. It's just like, how old are you? I mean, I think some people like that kind of smack talk thing, but it was just like, they were acting like they were about 11. And it was just like, guys, you're embarrassing. Just because your audience is mainly made of 11-year-olds doesn't mean you have to...
My mum bought me an ice cream afterwards because she said that I was the best, so I am the best.
Yeah, mum said I actually am the best gamer, so you can ask my mum.
I've got a badge, she made it me.
Yeah, it says best gamer on it. It's made of wool. And I've got a hat that says best gamer on it. She knitted that for me as well. No, I don't know. I don't want to be a dick, but it was just like... God, but it was brilliant because they just kept failing the speedruns and getting killed by the alien really quickly. And it was just like, hubris. It's like, I'm the best. I'm going to do this. Dead. It's like, you're not the best. So that entertained me. But I'm looking forward to playing that game in environment, which I kind of feel it's probably meant to be played.
Yeah, definitely. It's your own bedroom or whatever, late at night on your own. Maybe with an easily jumpy housemate as well. But.
And also, it's just amazing that it's a game made for, like, I don't know, like, it's really cool to see games not being made, well, like, games being made for my generation now.
Yeah.
Because there is this thing, like...
so many rubbish alien games.
Well, there's a lot of chatter about, people feeling like, I think at the moment that even though that for years the only games market that's really been tapped into and actually been aimed at is the same bracket of 14-year-old to 18-year-old men. Yeah. And they just re-loop and rehash
Call of Duty bunch.
Yeah, so we get to our age. So I'm like 20. How old am I? I'm 29. I always forget how old I am. I won't forget next year. When I'm 30, I won't forget.
No.
But you're 26.
I am.
I know you're 3 years younger than me. That's easy. But it means, yeah, like you kind of get that sensation of once you're over like 22, 23, it's like in the games world, you don't matter anymore. You'll continue to enjoy it and you'll continue to buy stuff and play it, but they're not really aiming games to you.
I hardly ever buy the mainstream games.
Well, it's because they're aimed at the same bracket of constantly refreshing people.
Pretty much indie games all the way now, and just Steam trying to find any indie game I've not played, like that To the Moon that you recommend to me.
To the Moon's brilliant,
beautiful, just a beautiful story. If you show it to someone, you show them a trailer, they're not going to play it. No, it's just rubbish.
It's quite a hard game to pitch to people. You have to just do that forceful
thing. So moving.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly moving story. It's just brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Mark of the Ninja. That's a great game.
Obviously, and obviously we talked about Invisible Ink, which we talked about a lot last week.
I've been playing that a lot. I've not brought it up because it's been on
we talked about it
and the show before.
But it's great.
It's fantastic. Great. I'm going to keep playing that.
But that's what I mean is there are obviously like loads. There's such a wider spectrum of games now available than ever before. And it's kind of, at first I found it a bit overwhelming because I was so used to being able to cover all games, or at least know of all games,
Yeah.
When I was 18, you could name me any game on any platform, and I might not have played it, but I'd know about it. Now, fuck off. Like, so many, and...
Yeah, especially with Steam, there's so much on there.
Steam's got ridiculous, yeah. But it's cool, because it means now...
And yet, there's still nothing on the Xbox One.
No.
A housemate bought one on launch day.
I know, you're always like, can we play this game?
They go to the game store, and there's like... I think at this point maybe about 15, 20. On launch day there's about 8.
It's still pretty weak.
And there's no like the arcade games. Like on 360 there was a whole archive of Xbox Arcade. I used to buy loads of them. I love that stuff. And
it's the fact they haven't transferred it across.
They did at E3. I think they showed a big whole thing of the arcade stuff coming. It looks quite good.
I still don't understand why they didn't.
Don't know when.
Why they didn't work out a system so they could bring XBLA games all across.
Bring it all over.
The fact that you had to lose your entire collection, I think, was a big nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through Walking Dead for that reason.
Because you can't play
Walking
it on
Dead 2 and The Wolf Among Us, because we've set up the Xbox One now, and I just can't be bothered. I just
don't understand what happened there, because like the architecture change between the 360 and Xbox One can't have been that different. A lot of the problem with consoles is they're always made on weird architectures. I mean, the PlayStation 3 particularly was just a weird system, but they've ditched that now, and the PlayStation 4 is like much more like a PC. And it means now we should have this parity of just being like the PC, the Xbox One, and the PS4 are basically all just different PCs in a weird way. Yeah. That's a simplification of it. There are differences. But I kind of feel like the Xbox One's powerful enough. Why couldn't they have just made it so it would emulate the Xbox 360 a bit?
It must have just been allocation of time and money.
It's a real shame.
It's got to be doable. They just focused.
The thing is, I have a massive collection of games on Xbox Live Arcade. Yeah, I'm sure enough. I've got loads, mate. I've got a badge that my mum made me, our mum, that says I've got the most games in the world. But no,
I haven't got one, so
precisely. So it must be true. Yeah. But I bought loads and loads and loads and loads of games on the Xbox 360 XBLA. And because I couldn't, if I could transfer them all across, I'd probably consider getting an Xbox One.
There's a lot I'll come back to, like Braid, for example, that's on there.
I mean, just Gunstar Heroes, Guardian Heroes, or whatever it's called, that one that was made by the same people.
Yeah, Guardian Heroes.
Something like that. I don't
what you
remember.
mean.
But there was loads of things that I bought just because I thought, yeah, it's a bit of a classic. I want a copy of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still not looking good. I mean, it's got to the point now where it's like every time a game comes out that's on both platforms, it's like, yeah, it runs 1080p, 60 frames a second on PlayStation 4 and doesn't run as well on the Xbox. It's like, I kind of figured at first it's teething problems, but soon we'll see Xbox One games that will run exactly as well as PlayStation 4. But it's still not happening. It's just like,
Yeah, it really isn't.
it's just not as good. And the thing was, like, the whole thing that Microsoft had going for them is like, they had all of the consumers. They had the market. And they've just dropped the ball. We haven't talked about this in the podcast for ages because it's felt irrelevant, because I kind of said all of this stuff probably about a year ago and nothing has changed. Well, it's like, there's been no point where I've been like...
just keep saying the games will come soon. The games will come soon.
I mean, yeah, there will be a point, I'm sure.
Just another month now.
It's not coming, that's the point. There will be a point.
We got Destiny's there, and obviously talked about that last week. That's hit. I mean, the first one was like Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs came out, like, finally a good game on the Xbox One. I bored of that after about 4 hours. It's like,
yeah, it's not for me.
Isn't good.
Although I will have a brief shout out now, actually, for a bunch of stuff that is coming out soon, because actually it's an unbelievably exciting couple of months for games, I've realised. Like Civilization Beyond Earth looks really cool. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard it's quite cool. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah, we just had a little preview.
We had a pokey at that. I played it for about 20 minutes just because I wanted to...
Work quite well as a co-op experience.
Yeah, it did. It's definitely... Well, I think it's definitely one of those games that's probably good to play with a partner, actually.
Yeah. It's a single-player game. It's not a co-op game.
Yeah,
to be clear.
But it's such a kind of...
You play as a psychic detective trying to piece together a crime scene. And you have to do that by getting everything back, resetting the crime scene to how it was at the start.
Yeah.
And then...
But what's lovely, I don't really want to tell people too much about this.
Yeah, no.
Because what I liked about this is that basically the game starts and it just says, this is a narrative experience that will not hold your hand.
Yeah.
And then you're in the woods on a railroad track. And that's it. And then you just start walking.
As a bit of a narrator, gives you...
The narrator says, yeah. He basically explains why you're here.
Yeah.
He says, you're here because you got a letter from Ethan Carter. He says, like, when the police...
Some bad stuff done happening.
When the police won't listen and the priests won't believe you, you call me. And it's basically like,
that was it, yeah.
You're like, ooh, spooky detective. But then after that, there's no more talking and you're just in the woods and you walk along and then sure enough, you find some stuff with blood on it. And you're like, still don't know what you're doing. But the idea is that you kind of realise after a few minutes that your character is clearly here because this is where his lead has led him or whatever to start looking for this boy.
And it has a really nice, uses the Sherlock thing of look at it and words come up like blood, trauma, head, some smashing,
accident, animal. Yeah, it like pops up all these words. So you have to you read them all and like you get a sense of what's going on. And then it will be like at the start, there's a really obvious thing where there's a kind of a train on a railroad and it just pops up going, suddenly it just goes crank, ?
Yeah,
and then there's loads of
train, blood, and then crank, and then tons of crank. And
it's like, what the fuck is going on? But he's like trying to work out where the crank is.
He's looking for the crank.
And then you move around until you work out. And we worked out
that all the words sort of focus into one word that says crank that's brighter, and it's like him focusing his mind.
And then you get this sort of like psychic vision of where the crank is. But it's clever, and we worked out that actually the way it works is that it's like a hot and cold thing. The words become more densely populated until it's one word when you're pointing, when your character is facing the direction of where that object is, and then it shows you a vision of what it looks like where it is, and then it's just a case of then you have to go and find it.
Get it. Got it.
But it's sort of like, it's not open world, but it gives the sensation of that.
There's enough space to move around to be a bit lost and confused.
And holy fuck, it is beautiful. Like it is.
Yeah, of course.
It is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. I think in terms of the environments, last time I played anything that took my breath away like that was almost definitely Red Dead Redemption.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom.
Take my breath away. Boom, boom, boom. But no, it's like you're in the woods and it's autumn, which is obviously the time of year when trees look fucking well hot.
It's got nice trees in it. It's got the light through the trees and
beautiful
the leaves
rocks.
and the trees.
Leaf trees, light, beautiful trees. It's just stunning. It's really beautiful. And actually there's some interesting stuff that the guys who made it, the astronauts, who are the guys who made, basically not all of them, but the lead guy was the lead guy at People Can Fly, who made Bulletstorm. So it's a small team. It's their first release, and as I say, I haven't really played much of it, and it's weird in the fact that because it doesn't tell you anything, I don't really want to talk about how even the mechanics, because for me, what I enjoyed there was working it out.
Puzzle. It was quite fun
because it was just working out what I was supposed to do, and what I liked about it was that it came quite naturally. It was like you're not told what to do, but then we just sort of go, oh, we must have to do that, and we did it, and it worked.
To actually do it, if you were using a guide, for example, could have been done in about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
it took us maybe about 15-20 minutes.
But I think as it's,
but it works. It works.
It's the same reason I enjoyed BioShock originally, is that the most interesting parts of the game took place in my head.
Yeah,
and in this case, it was the fact that it was a really fun game to play as a kind of co-op, sitting and playing it together thing, in the fact that it was just me and you talking about it and just being like, what are we doing? What, we got to do this? And then like the fact that obviously you're piecing together this murder, and there's a nice thing that this isn't too much of a spoiler, but there's a nice thing in the fact that once you've found all of the bits of the clues, you then
work out the chronology.
You have to. So we'd already been talking about it.
We basically worked it out by that.
Yeah, we had. But it's like you kind of look at things and go, what's going on with this?
It tests you. It says what is the order of these events.
Yeah, like what's the order of the events, and you have to basically just work out what happened in what order. And then once you've done that, it will play out the event, because obviously you're a supernatural detective, so you get to see what happened. But it was cool.
Ghosts of the past.
Somehow. Yeah, because it was that thing of we're like, what's this about? Because they're like kind of not red herrings, but there are clues that don't quite make sense, and you think...
Yeah, we had a lot of back and forth between working out what had happened before we got there. We did land on it at the right time, and then we were tested on it, and we were all right. But I'm
interested to see, as it progresses, whether or not these sections become frustrating or not, because this was obviously a tutorial, basically.
Yeah.
It didn't tell us how to do anything at any point, it just left us to do it, but it was quite simple. And
there were 6 pieces. If that was like maybe 15 pieces, then that could be a different thing. Yeah, I don't know how hard it gets.
Yeah, but it's very narrative based. But I did really, really enjoy what I saw of it so far. Wasn't 100% sure about the voice acting, but I'm always like that with voice acting. It was slightly off, but most of it isn't voice acted.
It was all right.
And to be honest, it was just nice to play a game where at the start of the game, I just sort of wandered off into the bushes a bit and just started looking around at stuff, just because it looked pretty. And I didn't have a thing popping up saying, follow the railroad. I'm just being like, hey, don't forget to follow the railroad. Just having a game that doesn't have
the arrow
HUD.
Indicates which way you should go.
Follow the breadcrumbs. Like, it's a game without a HUD, and it doesn't make things glow either. It's like, if there's a clue, it isn't like, here's a clue. It's just something...
it has the Sherlock word system.
Well, it does it when you get close to it. That's the thing is, once you approach something, it will then say, do you want to look at this?
It's like you're thinking about it, basically. It's what your character is thinking.
But it's even simple stuff. Like, it's like, there isn't... It doesn't do that thing where it kind of puts a layered glaze of light running across things as being like, this is a point of interest. It's just like, it's a pool of blood. Like, of course it's a point of interest. So it does mean... And because the art design of the world is really nice and really naturalistic, and again, there's amazing blog posts on their blog about how they actually achieve that, it does actually make it so that the world looks kind of real. And when something isn't right, you do spot it immediately in the way that you spot things in real life, in the way that you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
There's something there that's not quite right.
The textures it's hard to describe.
Well, it's done with photographs.
Yeah.
So it's like the rocks look real because they are actually all real rocks from the real world that they've just photographed and put into the game using the exact same things, like proportions.
Yeah, I mean, it still baffles me how that works. And you were saying that actually means you can, with a less powerful machine, you'd actually be able to run that because of that.
Yeah.
But it looks better as
it's because
well.
The lighting,
kind of blows my mind.
The lighting isn't actually, the systems being used aren't actually super advanced. It's just, I think obviously it wouldn't look as sharp on a less good PC, but it will still look, the art direction, the art style will still look really nice. I'll probably be talking about it more next week. But so far, I've been really, really impressed by it. Unfortunately, this is going to be a shorter than usual podcast because
I got a train to catch.
He's got to catch a train.
Got to see a train about a place. That's the thing.
But yeah, there's a bunch of good games coming out at the moment as well. I really want to play Shadow of Mordor, which is basically Assassin's Creed with orcs and politics, and it actually sounds amazing.
I remember what you have done.
I remember what you have done. Yeah.
You encounter a boss after you beat him. You could like kill him. You could burn his face. You could intimidate him, or you could bribe him. Something like that. Different options. Next time you meet him, like, I remember you burned my face. I'm not happy with this.
Yeah, apparently the general gist of it,
things.
The general gist
There's more to it than that.
The general gist of it is, if you don't cut their head off, then there's a really good chance they'll come back, which interestingly is the exact same system used in Game of Thrones.
It's like real life then.
And real life. But it's pretty similar to Game of Thrones, you know. Unless you chop someone's head off, they'll probably come back at some point for some reason. Anyway, apologies for that mild spoiler. And we'll see you next week for more Daft Souls. And thank you very much for joining me, Chris Lees.
No problem at all.
Yeah, you were definitely picked to be on this podcast purely on the merit of your abilities as a person.
Who is here
right now in the room.
I wonder if people can tell the difference between our voice. They might just think you've got an alter ego and gone a bit mad.
Oh, imagine that. Zuma!
Zuma!
Goodbye!
Zuma!